Let's see here. Should we move this down a little bit? Maybe, right? Maybe. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, so we are just going to give it just a minute, and I'm going to make sure that you guys can hear me well while I'm testing out my new microphone. Also, would you guys be into some ASMR, like realness? Would I even be good at that? Is that anything that you guys would even want to see from me? Okay. Say hi, you guys. Perf, you can hear me. Perfect. So hopefully everybody is well. I hope so. So tonight I'm just really coming on here to just test new equipment and things that I have invested in for YouTube. I'm super excited. This is like the end goal for me. This is like what this is everything to me. And so part of doing YouTube, I also had a really high interest in doing a podcast. And there are just some stories that I just can't put on YouTube. If I put them on YouTube, they're just going to get flagged and it's just going to be a catastrophe, you know? So I was thinking like a lot of you guys had asked if I had a Patreon, and I do not. I thought about it for a little bit, and there's actually somebody on Patreon who this is like so funny to me too, because like I don't have like a ton of subscribers, but someone like stole my username, like Morgan Shay, and it's like my profile picture, like, and they update the profile picture to like whatever my profile picture is on YouTube. So I think that's very funny. But someone does have a Patreon on there that is Morgan Shay, and it has my profile picture, but it's not me. If I ever come out with a Patreon, I will let you guys know. But no, I've always really wanted to do a podcast, and there's a lot of stories that we've talked about on Instagram and stuff, and you guys have really wanted to hear them more in depth. But like, it's hard for me to consciously do that on Instagram, knowing the following that I have on Instagram. There are a lot of, I wouldn't say kids, but there are, teenagers, early adults. And also I have a lot of friends whose kids like to watch me as well. So I went back and forth of what I wanted to do. And I've been tinkering with the idea of a podcast for a little over 6 months. And I knew that this Morgan Halloween, I wanted it to be very special. And I was kind of going back and forth, with what I want to do. Did I want to start the podcast this year? Did I want to start it next year? And I'm very, very, very like a spontaneous person. Like I'm very much like at the very last minute, if I plan something out over a period of time, it like sinks, like it tanks, like it's just terrible. It's all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. Like I'm always the person that has to put shit together at the very last minute. That's how I've always been. It's how I'll be till the end of time. And it was very much the same thing with this podcast, because it was more of a procrastination thing. Because number one, I was like, are my subscribers going to want to listen to a podcast? Number two, like, are these stories too much? And are they okay to be on SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever? And after going back and forth for months and months and months and months and months, I finally had a conversation with one of my good friends. And she was like, you know what, Morgan, you've been talking to me about this podcast for 6 months. Either you're going to do it or you're not. What do you want? Like, you're in your 30s, like, enough is enough. You need to start doing like whatever's going to make you happy in life. And I was like, you know what? You're right. There is no excuse. There is no reason. Like, also, by the way, peep this box that Dolly literally chewed all to shit. We love you, Fashion Nova. Sorry, my dog ate you. Anyways, so long story short, I am starting a podcast and it is going to start next week. My first episode comes out. There is technically the first episode, but it's just an introduction and because after I uploaded the trailer onto SoundCloud, I had a lot of people commenting and stuff on there and saying hey, can we know more about you? You sound really funny and stuff, but not everybody watches YouTube, and I didn't realize that's something that I didn't put into consideration, that maybe there's going to be people who are going to find the podcast that might not have heard of me before. Also, Dolly does that to my couch, by the way. So I did a little introduction. I uploaded that last night, but what I really wanted to do this live for today was, number one, I really want you guys to interact with this podcast. So episode one, the true episode one, full podcast, will be out next week. But the second podcast, and for all the podcasts moving forward, I want you guys to tell me what you want on the podcast. And I'm going to be doing this on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook and TikTok. So those are the 4 places that if you follow me on any of those 4 places, you'll be able to let me know what you want me to talk about. If you want a story time, what kind of story time, or if there is some type of conspiracy theory or whatever. It can be literally whatever you want. And all you have to do is just comment. Now, if I am live on YouTube, I just need you to be sure to put it in the actual comment section, not the live chat. If there is a certain type of podcast, and I'm not going to pick the one that's the most, the comment that's the most or anything like that. I'm literally just going to pick the one that I'm yeah, that would be a good topic to talk about. Also, keep in mind that it needs to be something that we can talk about for over an hour, because my podcast is going to be anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes long. So I just need to have something that I'm going to be able to talk about at a full length. Anything shorter than that is a YouTube video for me. So thumbs up on that. But I also wanted to chit chat about just a couple of things tonight. I was going to do a live on Facebook. I actually did go live on Facebook, but there just wasn't anybody on. So I decided I'd come to YouTube, which there's not anybody on YouTube either, but that's okay. But I thought I would just bring it here and leave this here for you guys. So this is a topic that I had written down in my book for the podcast that I wanted to do. And then as I went and planned out my podcast of all the things that I want to fit into the podcast, this one just didn't fit, simply because I want there to be basically the way I want to do it is you guys pick 3 episodes that I do a month, and I get 1 episode every single month that I just do on my own. And the thing is, there just wasn't enough podcast in the first season for me to be able to fit this in. But these are some urban legends that, now there is going to be an urban legends episode, don't get me wrong, but these particular topics just weren't able to be fit into the podcast, if that makes sense. So these are just extra urban legends that I found via Google, not urban legends, Reddit, via just things that I've heard growing up in East Tennessee, all kinds of different things. And I figured we could talk about them here on YouTube today. And you guys can tell me what you guys think about these urban legends. And we're going to be talking all kinds of things. We're going to be talking about hexes and curses and elves and fairies and all kinds of things. Okay. So you guys get yourself a snack, get yourself something to drink, get comfortable, and let's spend this Saturday night and let's talk about some urban legends. And that's on period. I have my Sonic Coca-Cola. I have Dolly by my feet. I was going to light this candle, but I kept burning my finger. But we are blessed, period. Hi, Forgive and Live. I love your username. Love it. So yeah, I guess nobody's on the internet tonight. What will we ever do with no one on the internet? Now, I tried to go live on Facebook just because when I do test stuff like this, I just always just go to Facebook, just because it doesn't really bother me to have a test, test, a test podcast on Facebook. I don't give a shit, but I don't want that on my Instagram. You feel me? Thank you. Oh my goodness. Y'all don't make me blush. So tonight we're going to talk about some of these are super creepy and some of these urban legends really have me thinking. Some of them are like, I don't know about that. I don't know. And then some of them are like, holy shit. So we're just going to start. And the first one we're going to start out with is actually an urban legend that has to do with an area that's in my hometown. So I live in Halls Crossroads, Tennessee. If you've never heard of that, it is a little bitty private community inside of Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay. Knoxville is a pretty big town, but we're in Tennessee. So there are all kinds of these little small towns. And the heart of Knoxville, like the busiest part of Knoxville, I would have to say hands down is West Knoxville. Now, in West Knoxville, there is a road called Kingston Pike. Now, Kingston Pike will take you from downtown Knoxville, and it will take you all the way through West Knoxville into Lenoir City. Now, as you get to the split to go to Lenoir City from Kingston Pike, there is a little junction, fork in the road, if you will, and it's called Dixie Lee Junction. Now, this road is extremely dangerous. I cannot tell you how many times a week we hear on the radio, oh, these people wrecked on this road. Like so many people have died. Matter of fact, one of my old best friends, her mother was literally almost killed in a car accident years ago. She literally was like, she died and they had to bring her back. Like she couldn't walk for almost a decade. Like it was bad, a bad accident on Dixie Lee Junction. Like this road is so dangerous. And the reason is because it's like a slower, not as busy end of Kingston Pike. And this fork in the road comes up and there's a curb immediately after so Kingston Pike goes into a curb and Dixie Lee Junction comes up. And so there's a blind curb and you can't see. There is no traffic light, which there still isn't to this day. And that has me questioning my sanity because with all these people who have died in Dixie Lee Junction, why? But I digress. So the urban legend says that back in the days, before Kingston Pike was Kingston Pike and there was pavement, it was like a dirt road, whatever. There was a man and his wife, and the wife was having an affair. The husband had found out that she was having an affair and he was pissed and they were arguing, whatever. And they're coming up Dixie Lee Junction and the man that she was having an affair on her husband with is standing on the side of the road and the husband shoots her lover. Okay. The wife is then so depressed and she's so angry. She knew that this man was the love of her life, but back then, divorce just wasn't a thing. And so she put a curse on Dixie Lee Junction. Now, this urban legend has been talked about a lot. Okay. So I remember when I was a kid, I had heard something about Dixie Lee Junction being cursed or whatever, but nobody went into detail. I found this on Reddit. I was scrolling through Reddit just trying to find urban legends, and I had a whole list of them. And again, these are the ones that just wasn't going to fit in the podcast. And on Reddit, they were literally talking about how the girl who did the post on Reddit, she had done an ancestry report and found out that she was related to the woman who supposedly put this hex on Dixie Lee Junction. Now, this is crazy. And again, I don't know if this is a fact, but how crazy is that? And y'all, even in that post, they were saying that over 1,100 people have died on Dixie Lee Junction Road since then. 1,100 have passed away on this one road. Now, I don't know if that's a fact, but there's at least three wrecks a month on this road. And that is a God fact. I know that for sure, without a doubt. It's just super dangerous. And always, the wrecks are at night because you cannot see. There are no lights, there's no traffic lights. And if somebody is like fucked up and drunk and they're driving down that road and they don't have their headlights on or something, like that's when things get super, super dangerous. So that is the first urban legend that we're talking about tonight. And I really am curious to know your guys' thoughts on this. Do you think that there is a woman from like the 1700s who put a curse on this road? And that is the reason why. And they say that the reason that she put this curse on the road was because that was the road that her lover died, and she hexed and cursed the road and said that she would never travel down Dixie Lee Junction again. I'm very curious to know your guys' opinions on this one. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is Buttermilk Bridge. Now, this bridge is in Canada. Okay. And the bridge is very, very old. Matter of fact, it cannot even be driven or even walked on anymore because of how old this bridge is. Hey. And years ago, back when the bridge was still mobile, okay, back when it was still in its prime, it was in its peak season, it was still doing bridge things. You feel me? There was a man who was making wishes off of this bridge, supposedly. Again, these are all urban legends, guys. So you guys all let me know what you think of these urban legends. So the man is like throwing pennies off of the bridge. Or whatever coins they use there in Canada. He's throwing coins off the bridge and he's making a wish. He went there every day and every night to make these wishes. And so this woman was washing her clothes in the creek that this bridge was over top of. And so she sees this man and she overhears this man making a wish. And he's making a wish to fall in love. So this woman decides that she's going to accidentally bump into him at the bridge one day. So she basically just, obviously it's not going to be an accident. Like, she's scheming, right? She's like, I'm going to make him fall in love with me. I'm so lonely. I'm so tired. She was living with her parents. And basically she was just being the maid for her parents, like going down to the creek to wash the clothes, all of those types of things. So the very next day, she gets away from her house and she goes to the creek, and the man has met a woman and he's at the bridge with a woman and he's like on a date or whatever. And the woman, the woman who was going to like bump into him and like fall in love with him, she disappears. Nobody ever sees her again. She's never seen again. And legend says that this woman died of heartbreak underneath the bridge. And they call this bridge now Heartbreak Bridge. And that if you go there at sunup or sundown, you will hear her crying at the bridge. Now, this one's a little bit different because there is actual like clips that I read. Now, I couldn't actually get the clip. So one of the clips was on YouTube. I know it is disturbing. So one of the clips on YouTube that I did find, it like when I went to go bring it up, it says this video is no longer available. So I'm not exactly sure if there is actual videos. If you guys know, please let me know if the Heartbreak Bridge video is able to be seen on YouTube, because I couldn't find it. But I did read a lot of things about it on Google and Reddit in particular, of the Heartbreak Bridge. And supposedly there has been a lot of paranormal activity there. There's been a lot of investigators go out there and like try to talk to her. And she's heartbroken, like she's, whatever. And even more into this urban legend, apparently that man and his wife, they ended up getting married, him and that woman. And they were like haunted their entire lives, like their whole lives. And talk a little bit more on this on my podcast, so I'm not going to get too in depth. I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger, but you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that podcast episode because they went through some shit. Okay, through some shit. Now, the next one that we are going to talk about, this is actually something that takes place in Scotland. And this is little boy Tim. And little boy Tim lived in Scotland. And he was telling his parents, oh my gosh, mom, dad, like they had this beautiful cottage in Scotland. And I couldn't find exactly what time era this was in, but I am going to assume, I'm just going to assume, just because of like them riding horses and buggies and stuff, that this was like the 1800s, somewhere around there, maybe 1900s, maybe early 1900s. I'm not sure. But they got this beautiful cottage, whatever, and they're riding in their horse and buggy to church. And the son tells the mom and dad, like, hey, the little people are getting hungry at night and you need to give me food to give to the little people. So the mom and dad, they think, oh, well, he must have an imaginary friend, da 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 da. And so they give the little boy, little pieces of bread or whatever to put on his windowsill specifically at night before he goes to bed. And it starts to become an issue. So the little boy starts to like get angry, like thinking that his parents don't believe him. And he starts to act out. And he also just doesn't want to interact with children of his own age anymore. He really just wants to play with the little people. And nobody ever seen these little people. It was always him. And so his parents really thought that he had an imaginary friend and that it was really starting to affect their child. So they started to get worried for their child, whatever. And one night, the little boy gets really sick. His stomach starts to hurt really bad. He doesn't feel good. So he sleeps with his parents. And before they go to bed, he asks his mom, he says, Mom, did you put the bread in there for the little people? And the mom says, yes, son, I put the bread in there for the little people. So they go to bed, whatever. And the mom did put bread out for the little people, and they all slept together in this room. Now, what is important to remember and what is said on Reddit is that the son never got up at all throughout the night because he was so miserably sick. He slept in between his parents, and that the dad also was worried that he might get up and like walk around the house, and because there wasn't electricity or anything, like there was no lights to cut on, like if he did get up in the middle of the night, the dad locked like they had like a wooden bedroom door and it like a latch or something. He put like a board over the door so the boy wouldn't get out in the middle of the night. And next morning they get up and the bread is missing. Fast forward, the boy really doesn't talk about the little people anymore after he got sick. At that point, he was maybe like 8 years old. Fast forward to when he was an adult, and he tells his parents, he's like, Mom, Dad, do you remember me telling you guys about the little people? And they were like, yeah. And what was that? Was that like a, imaginary friend? Like, what was that phase that you were going through? And he was like, no, there were little elves that crawled from the garden in the backyard because the mom like grew like vegetables and stuff for them to eat. They crawled from the garden in the backyard up to the windowsill. Like I remember it so vividly. And now his son was experiencing the same thing, the little people. And I'm very curious of this, you guys. Do you think that there really are elves? Do you think that that's a thing? Like, and I'm not talking like, I'm talking like full on like elves, like little bitty elves that, and even in this post, like he was like so specific. He was talking about like the little hats that they wore, and they were like all, chubby, and they had like little pointy ears, and like, what are your thoughts? Do you think that elves are a thing? Because guys, I have read so much. Not only that, but I've also seen on TikTok, if you go to TikTok and you look up hashtag witch talk, a lot of them will talk about elves. Is this a thing? Like, are elves a true thing? Like, am I lost here? I'm super confused. I need you guys to inform me and give me some information, because that's how my brain works. Like, I need tangible, information and evidence in front of my face, please, for the love of God. So there's that one. Next on the list. Now, this shit freaks me out because you all know some of the shit that I've had go on in my life. But when I was little, for the first little bit, until I seen people like my friends and my cousins and sisters play with Barbies, I was terrified of them. And the reason why is I thought that they were a real human who had wax on them. Like, I thought this as a child, okay? You all listen to this shit you're about to fucking die, okay? Your mind is about to be blue. So the urban legend of Barbie dolls. Okay, this is just one of them. There are many, and bitch, some of them get super dark, including this one. So let's just get right on into it. So many people have wondered, like, what made Barbie a thing? A lot of different things have come back and forth as to why Barbie was created, what was the idea behind Barbie, etc., etc. How they created Barbie, all of these other things. So there is an urban legend that before they created Barbie, this is so disturbing, and I'm very curious of you guys, like your thoughts on this, but just a trigger warning right now, we are going to be talking about basically experiments being ran on a deceased body. So if that triggers you at all, please do not watch this live. But so basically, the legend goes, and this is all allegedly, so I don't get sued or anything, but hypothetically, allegedly, back in the day, they were trying to find like the perfect body to resemble Barbie, right? You know, Barbie has that specific body type, like little dump truck. She's got some nice titties. She's got a nice thin waist. She's got some good legs, good arms, good hair. Like they were trying to find that specific type of person, woman. Well, there was a woman who was killed. Basically, well, not basically, she was killed. And I'm not even going to say their names, but the people who were trying to invent this doll heard of this death and seen her picture and decided to go and look at her body and paid her parents millions of dollars to basically design Barbie after her. This urban legend basically is saying that Barbie was created to resemble an actual woman who was murdered. What the fuck? If this shit is like real, y'all, when I was reading this, I need you guys to know, like, when I was reading this, I was like, you gotta, what? What? I've never heard it, like, and I've never like really like sat and thought, well, wonder like where they come up with Barbie. Like, why did they want her to look like that particularly? Because it's not like that is like such a, you know, wait a minute. I didn't want to hurt Dolly. It's not like that's such a normal body type. You know what I'm saying? Like people want to say it's a normal body type. No, it is not. I don't know one person who, you know, is completely like no dimples nowhere, just like, you know, looks like a complete plastic, like Barbie. Like, no. That's so creepy. Do you guys think that Barbie was, if this is true, what do you think of this urban legend? Do you think that Barbie was created to look like this woman who was murdered? That is fucked if that's true. Moving on to the next urban legend that didn't make it into the urban legend podcast episode. So this one here has me really curious, number one, but number two, it has me really excited because this goes along with the elves. We're going to be talking about fairies. So this is about the woman. Okay, so this basically is going to bleed two Disney characters together. We're going to bleed Rapunzel and we're going to bleed Tinkerbell together in this urban legend, okay? And I'm very curious to know what your thoughts are, of course. So this woman, okay, she's with this abusive man. This is like way back in the day. We're talking like probably, God, 1600s, who knows? And she's married to this abusive fuck, and he has her locked in a tower, okay? And he leaves her in there. He only brings her food like 2 times a day. That's it. The rest of the time, she's in her tower. Hold on, let me get something to drink. Should we do some ASMR? So good. Yes, I will be posting part 2 of the story time. It will be up on Tuesday. Okay, anyways, so she's locked in this tower. Her husband brings her food like twice a day, whatever. And she starts to grow this long ass hair, right? Like Rapunzel. Like, bitch, is this true? You all let me know what you all think about this urban legend because I'm off of this shit, like not picking that she was like being like locked into, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's so dark, like if this is the true story of the actual Rapunzel and Tinkerbell, like, bitch, Disney has some shit to explain. Like, this shit is dark as fuck, okay? So she was majorly abused by this man. She starts to grow out her hair, whatever, and she gets the bright idea. Okay, well, if I grow my hair long enough, maybe someone can like climb my hair and like save a bitch. Like, I need the fuck up ASAP. I need out of here. So she's growing her hair, growing her hair, growing her hair, growing her hair. Her husband actually moves another woman into their main house and tells the woman that his wife is dead. I would be screaming out of that thing. I'd be like, bitch, I'm not dead. I'm not here. Hello. He's got me locked up in this shit. Like, come get me. Save a bitch, you know? But I digress. So she's in there, and every night she wishes upon a star. She's like, please let my hair grow. Let somebody travel out in the middle of these woods and let them find me and climb up my hair and get me the fuck ASAP. Every night she wishes upon this star, okay? Every night, and she says that it's the same star. Every night she would wish upon the same star. So one night she's wishing upon this same star, and she gets this really good feeling like tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow I'm really, really, really going to be saved. Tomorrow's the day. So she starts to hear, like, as she's laying there, she's trying to go to sleep, whatever. She starts to hear this fluttering, almost as if like a bird flew in, like her window or whatever. And so she gets up, she lights a candle, she's walking around, like looking like, where's this bird? She didn't want the bird to get hurt or get stuck somewhere. So, and she really didn't want her funky ass husband to see the bird because he would probably kill it and cook it. So she really wanted to find this bird. So she lights another candle and she can't see the bird. She's like, where the fuck is this bird? And she still hears it, like it's making all this noise, it's flapping, whatever. And so as she walks around, and it's a little bitty room in a tower, as she's walking around, she's looking and looking and looking, and she hears someone say, hey, up here. And so she looks up, and there is a fairy, like flat out, bro. I don't know how else to say that. There's a fairy, and she's like, hey, I'm here to save you. I'm going to go get someone for you. You turned me into a fairy. So basically, her wishing on the star every night, the fairy said that it magically turned her into a person to go get help. What do we think about this? Is this true? And then the fairy flies into town and says, hey, word up, I'm a fairy. Hi. I need you to come out into the middle of the woods and save this girl. She's like locked in a tower. What do we think? Is this real? Do you think this is real? Do you think that this is how Disney got the story of Rapunzel, and then like maybe was like, you know what, we could actually like change Rapunzel a little bit and make it like this, and then we could actually get 2 movies out of it because we could put this fairy in the Peter Pan movie. Like, what the fuck? What do you guys think? Tell me for real, straight up. And then the final urban legend, which I have to be very careful talking about because I'm not trying to get this striked. And I also want to say that this is ridiculous, but I did see this on TikTok. And the only reason that I'm not going to talk about it on my podcast is because I just don't want to talk about this on my podcast. I just don't want anyone for a second to think that I believe that this is true or that this is correct information. So please know before I say this that this is not correct information as far as I know. I do not believe that this is correct information, but I am going to share with you some what I've seen going around on TikTok, and you may have too. This has to do with the Rona. Okay. So about a month ago, this guy posted a video on TikTok. I'm about to let you guys see that video. I have to find it in my messages. Give me just a second. Okay, I found it. This video was posted about a month ago. And bitch, people are buzzing. Okay. People have been looking in this book as well, like seeing if they see it, and they see it. So here we go. Oh, shit. Hold on. Okay. So if you've seen that, he doesn't say anything in this TikTok. Okay. This is the original TikTok. He posts this TikTok with a medical like conditions book. Okay. And it's an old one. It's not new at all. You can tell by the front that it's not new, but it says medical conditions. And in there, it says coronavirus. And then he like drags his finger out like to like what the coronavirus is. And next to it, it says the common cold. Then the motherfucker flips to the back of the book, like where, the stamp is like the publishing date, 1989. What the fuck? It literally says coronavirus, the common cold. Coronavirus, common cold. $1989, bitch. That is the year I was born. What are our thoughts on that? So I've read a couple of different things. Okay. So I have read that number one, that this guy has met, like this is not an actual page inside of the book. I've seen this on not only in the comments, but I also seen this on Reddit. That the guy like actually like made the page or whatever and like put it inside of the book. I don't know. And then like, oh my God, guys, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your real thoughts? But I had somebody send me that and I flipped my shit. I was like, what? Because I hadn't seen it on TikTok. And then I went to go look for it the other day and I couldn't find it. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? I'm really curious of your guys' thoughts specifically on that. But guys, be looking for the podcast. It's coming. If you have not already, please go to SoundCloud and like Stories of a Chubby Chick. It's on SoundCloud only. So if you would like to hear some stories that are never going to make it to YouTube, just because they're just too wildin'. They're just too wildin'. Too wildin' for YouTube. So if you really want them, you're going to have to go and like Stories of a Chubby Chick on SoundCloud. So download the SoundCloud app if you don't already have it. There's some great music on there, so you should have it anyways. And go like Stories of a Chubby Chick. I already have the trailer and also an introduction episode where I let you guys know that every week you are going to get, so 3 weeks out of every month, you are going to get to pick, someone is going to give me an idea for the next week's podcast. And I'm going to pick one person's thing that I like the most. And that's what we're going to talk about. And then 1 week out of every month, I'm going to talk about something. Also, don't forget that Tuesday, you are going to get part 2. I'm literally about to film part 2 right now. So if I feel like uploading it before, Tuesday, then maybe I will. It just depends on how long this one takes me to edit. But yeah, be looking out for part 2 of that story. I love you guys so motherfucking much. Yes, I'm feeling it. And also, if you would like to support not only my YouTube channel, but my podcast and support me, as always, my Cash App is in the description box. I'm in a singing mood, guys. Also, all of my social media is linked below as well if you'd like to follow me on a more personal level. Also, if you would like to vote for each week's episode of the podcast, I need you to be following me on Instagram or TikTok. Those are the 2 places that I'm going to run polls on and ask you guys what you guys want and all of those things. So be sure that you're following me on either or both. Also, if you would like yourself some beautiful surprise jewelry from Rise, yes, I sell surprise jewelry as well. The link for that is down in the description box as well. Or if you would like to join my team, you could really get to know me on a personal level then. You can click that link down there. It's only $1 to join. I would love to have you on my team. I love you guys so much. And until the very next time, bye.